Nice. We knew we'd get a professional
The
looking
dude
review.
is set up. I've seen this before on the internet somewhere. I can't all over YouTube.
Hello, gentlemen.
Great to have you here, Zach.
Yeah, thank you guys.
I mean, hello, welcome. You are our competition on the top of the Zora charts, rocketing up there. Though obviously you have been at this for much longer than 11 a.m. has been around. I think Coinage, man, I don't know when the last time we chatted was. It was
Gee, it's
years
been a
ago,
while.
probably,
Yeah,
right?
it's been a minute. It's been a minute, but no, congrats to you guys. Some of you guys have been able to do. This is sick. This is awesome, and thank you for having me on. I don't see us as competition at all. I feel like we're in the same vein of like actual streamers trying to do something on Zora, and the bigger you guys get, the bigger we all get.
I mean,
I'm stoked.
That's the whole theme of our early sort of intro here was just
Abundance mindset.
yeah, man. I mean, it's still, and I think even talking to Aaron at the beginning here, just it's very hard for people to grok what true scale is, especially in the moment. And I think people are just still underestimating the size of all this sort of stuff. There is a huge shift that continues to happen on the internet around media, and it's not slowing down. I think we see streaming as being a big component of that, and even though it's probably seems everywhere to most people here, it's still, I don't think, broken free to the scale that it's actually going to hit. So I totally agree. Rising tide lifts all boats, and you guys are doing a great job over there. So maybe you have a lot of history. You've been building towards this vision for a number of years, this idea of a community-owned media brand and show, and I think you've been sort of innovating on what ownership looks like around this. So I'm wondering if you can maybe just catch us up for folks who maybe are just discovering you today.
Yeah, for sure. And first off, thanks for having me on. I think Coinage is an experiment, is what I always start with, and it's an experiment that was born out of my experience in traditional media. I come from Yahoo Finance and CNBC. Before that, I was an anchor. I hosted my own show for 3 years and saw how broken the traditional media system was. The co-founder of Netflix, Mark Randolph, is one of our backers, one of the first minters at Coinage, and basically. Coinage is a bet that what worked for crypto and how Bitcoin disintermediated finance is going to happen in the world of media, streaming, and entertainment. And so I started a company called Trustless Media, which we can get into. And Coinage is just our first, basically our guinea pig to show exactly how the same flywheel that worked for giving people ownership over a crypto network, blockchain, how that worked for Bitcoin can also work in media. And so you mentioned Coinage being an experiment in co-ownership. That's exactly what we are. Is we're a US registered DAO co-op that anyone can mint an NFT to become a co-owner in. And all the IP from Coinage, everything we do is owned by that entity. And so anyone right now can go to coinage.media and mint. But we launched our Zora Creator Coin similar to you guys because there's a whole new world now that's opening up in terms of attention and what's happening online. And so we can get into more specifics, but at its core, the idea of Coinage is just, what can we do if a bunch of people come together to co-own the first media outlet built on chain?
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, I'm curious to get into the specifics of the kind of business model explorations you guys have been on, and if you feel like we're close to it working, or if you still feel like there's a lot to figure out.
No, I mean, I think so. So we've had a lot of tests in our journey, and since we started in 2022, right? And so for people who know us, there's a lot of people who know Coinage from our first interview with Do Kwon, and that was our first experiment. Was after the Terra collapse, we got the first interview with him, and basically put that episode out. We launched a trailer; it went viral, got like 2 million views. And when we launched the actual interview with him, people could mint a free NFT and watch that first before we put it on our YouTube. And so 5,000 people minted, which back then, gas on ETH was still pretty high. So these weren't bots. It was like you had to pay like $10 to mint. And so bots weren't doing that. And it was a cool experiment to say, okay, can we capture the virality, the attention that is in the moment? And this was before meme coins really existed. And so that was kind of checkbox number one is, okay, wow, there is a different way to monetize attention rather than just selling ads. Or we could have charged for those NFTs, but that wasn't the point. The point was, can we assign value in a moment to content? And I think fast forward 3 years now, where we are here with attention and creator coins in the meta, it's like a very similar idea. But what we've now built that on top of is real fractionalized co-ownership around a brand and everything we do at Coinage. So not different than other media outlets, but the difference is that all that flows into a DAO. Everything that Coinage does is accrues to the DAO. And at the end of the year, since we're built as a co-op, we can distribute dividends back to active members, which is no different than like REI, if you're familiar with that model. REI is just a co-op. The difference is we've built Coinage as a DAO co-op on chain. And so our dividends are paid out in the form of stable coins to active members. And so and from a business perspective, there's a lot of old, but then there's a lot of new. And I think that that's kind of what's been fun is kind of straddling both worlds.
I'd love to dive into the decision to go launch a creator coin on Zora and how that is shifting how you're thinking about the monetization of media.
Yeah, so actually, weirdly enough, the idea of the creator coin, originally we weren't really fans of. We were kind of skeptical of the idea of like what's different here versus a meme coin. And Zora got a lot of things right in terms of, I think, not just having a platform that was kind of trying to fix some of the ruggery that happens with meme coins, and the idea of an unlock over time for creator coins, which was different. And then it wasn't just content coins anymore. It was also creator coins and this flywheel of attention. And I know this sounds weird, but the way that we picture what we're doing at Coinage is just, again, what is the hardest asset in finance? Bitcoin. And what is the hardest asset online? Attention. And so what we've built now with our creator coin is this attention flywheel. So people can co-own. I don't know how you guys are structured, but for us, the DAO actually owns the Coinage creator coin. So all of that flows into the DAO. The trading fees flow into the DAO. And people can co-own that allocation of Coinage creator coins via the DAO and simply by minting a membership pass. And since then, we've also added other things as a DAO. We partnered with an Austrian firm called Dyke to run validators. The rewards from that also flow into the DAO. And so we're trying to discover new ways to monetize attention. And what Zora did with creator coins was, I think, pretty awesome in establishing this, like what we're on right now, a platform where a bunch of different creators in their respective niches can come together and stream, monetize, and give power back to creators and have that happen. And it's a flywheel that we want to be a part of. And so that's where, for us, the light bulb went off is like, okay, we have our memberships via NFTs. NFTs are different than tokens. This allows us to kind of have more of a top funnel touch point within the base ecosystem, but also still be connected because you can use Coinage to mint a membership pass right now at a 30% discount versus minting via ETH. So I think there's a lot of different things that work. And shout out to Base and Zora for doing it.
I mean, I think go ahead, Jess.
Well, I'll let you get in there, Josh. But the pinned post up on your Zora profile is study the attention flywheel. Michael Saylor is up to $32 billion in profits over 5 years simply by leveraging a flywheel built around the most powerful asset in finance. At Coinage, we built a very similar flywheel simply by leveraging the most powerful asset on the internet, attention. I think we sort of share intrigues around, the very clear and simple flywheel that exists here, right? Which is like, the more attention you're able to generate, the more value you're able to create on that attention. And then what can you go do with that value? And I think it's still shockingly underexplored, even in this. I mean, obviously it's a little world that we're playing in here on the Zora sort of world, but it feels like so many of like the bull cases that I can kind of make for creator coins, et cetera, are things that actually break out of the very explicit model that the Zora platform has, this idea that there is value out on the internet that gets to come into the tokenized ecosystem that we have with creator coins and content coins.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you guys are doing that in a fairly simple and direct way right now. I'm curious if there are other, like what other models have you explored, or let's jam a little bit on how we can go make this better.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly the right way of thinking about it. It's like, okay, obviously, from what I gather, you guys and us, like you said, we're in this little niche of crypto right now, right? And so what I think is cool is that the same flywheel works in any niche, right? It doesn't just need to be crypto news. And so at Trustless Media, the startup that I founded 3 years ago, it's like this framework that we're trying to pioneer works for Coinage and crypto news, but we also launched a sister show. It's a separate entity called Best Dish Ever, which is now also experimenting with our own creator coin. And that's food content. Has nothing to do with crypto, but we teamed up with some of the top food influencers in New York to launch a whole pilot season around food content. And I think what's cool when you step back and think about what's happening right now with this idea of tokenizing attention in the era of Web3 is, again, like all of these centralized intermediaries like Meta and YouTube normally only give creators pennies on the dollar, right? You can upload content and they'll monetize it, they'll sell ads against it, but they'll keep the lion's share of that, and they monetize attention. Look at Meta's stock price. And how do we change that? It's like Zora is one experiment, but to your point, it's not the only experiment. You can start to do other things like we did at Coinage, where you create, you know, memberships built around what exists. And I think the thing that people don't realize is that influencers have built up their own communities, right? It doesn't look like a DAO, but that's what it is. You follow a creator and you're buying into something, but those creators don't have any real ways to directly monetize, which I think creator coins are an interesting experiment to start to show people, is that like, hey, there's brand equity value that you've built up. And so there are different ways to start to tap into that brand value that you as an influencer or a creator have built up. And whether it's via creator coin, whether it's via memberships that actually let people co-own the IP around everything that we do, like we do with Coinage, there's a bunch of experiments that are going to come. But at the heart of it, it is, I think, still disintermediating who actually owns the attention and the IP around all of these things. And I think it's only going to accelerate.
Yeah, I think when you talk about token gated access or memberships and DAOs, it's kind of a throwback to the last cycle. And I think many people have kind of moved away from that and have realized that people kind of just want to hold a token and want the ownership experiences of a token going up more than they want to, really lean in and like govern something. So I'm curious where your kind of interest or conviction looking forward comes around the kind of DAO you've created and maybe membership as well.
Yeah, Josh, you hit the nail on the head, because I think it's been funny to cover this space. So not only exist in it as kind of a founder, but also covering it as a crypto reporter and thinking about like the trade-offs, because I do think it is a tricky thing. You can't have, and I think crypto is somewhat getting more and more hypocritical at a moment in time where it's like, hey, we really wish the nanny state was here to protect us from some of these downfalls. You can't have that plus celebrate on the upside. It's like you can't want it both ways. And so I think about the way that we've structured this is like, look, we don't promise number go up, right? You're buying a membership into co-owning something, and there's no guaranteed success. But what do you want? Do you want that, where you actually have real ownership over something and it could fail? Or do you want only speculation when you don't really know what's going on with the tokens behind the scenes? And I think increasingly people are waking up to what they've been fed, and why meme coins might not have been the end all be all is because it was a lot of the same shenanigans. And like, whether it's Trump's meme coin or whether it's even in a layer one that over 3 years, the chart looks the same, it's down and to the right, because there's this overhang of supply. But I think what Bitcoin got right is you start with a scarce supply and unlock it over time, but its value accrues to those who are using the network. And it's the same way that we've built Coinage, is like, okay, we have a set number of 5,000 NFTs, by the way, but we started with people who wanted to pay. We didn't allocate this to anybody. We didn't give any away for free, no KOLs, nada. Instead, it was like, let's start with a lower price and raise it over time as we mint more of these things, which looks a lot more like Bitcoin. And so as the value of Coinage increases, as we win awards, as we cross 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, as we grow our brand value, we just raise the price of memberships over time. And this is that flywheel in effect, because now as we have our creator coin and offer a 30% discount, it's the most efficient way to co-own Coinage right now. So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing an uptick in mints via Coinage versus people paying in ETH. But once we cross 100, which we're at like 25-ish right now, when we cross 100, the price of those memberships in ETH will increase, because that's what the DAO already had voted. And so like the alpha is, over time, Coinage's membership should get more and more expensive as we mint more, because that's the way that we're going to do this. But I think that's, again, there are a bunch of different experiments. I'm not saying that it's right, but it's the way that we've chosen. And it does allow.
I love the subtle flex of the YouTube plaque right behind you.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, I got to get that superimposed behind me. You can just add that in, right, Josh? You don't actually need to go put in the hard work and earn it. You can just give me a badge. We'll make an NFT or something like that. I'm interested in, so I kind of put my nose into this whole creator coin drama a little bit yesterday, and got some interesting pushback on Zora's model at some level. And one of the sort of ideas that I saw brought up is that it is very inefficient, that there's a small percentage of the value of the total economic value that's sort of flowing through this network that creators actually get to keep, and that maybe to step that further down, the idea that you actually almost have to sell your tokens as a creator to actually really truly monetize this. Mm-hmm. And it seems very misguided to me, because people seem to be bringing up this idea of patronage and how inefficient you know, if they're only capturing a couple percentage points on the volume of trading, well, you could capture 100% of any money that's sort of tipped or donated to you, and therefore that equals inefficient. But my sense is that there's just this whole new set of demand that's being brought on through speculation that is not going to be tipping. They're not going to be buying memberships. They're actually there purely for the speculative experience and entertainment of it. And that being able to earn fees off of that is actually the killer business model in crypto, and very likely will be the killer business model for media and creators as well. I'm wondering if you have thoughts on that.
No, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, like, if you think about the evolution, and again, coming from traditional media, it was like, okay, there was one way of doing media back then where it was like the studio owned everything, they worked with creators, they owned everything, and then they distributed it through cable, right? And then we saw Web 2 come around, and like then it became, hey, you can stream on YouTube or Meta, and like there was a different way. And we've already seen that revolution happen. And again, having the takes of the co-founder of Netflix be involved in our project is also very interesting to see his Web3 lens now applied to media in this third iteration, which is now not only do you have a phone in your pocket, which is kind of like a studio in your pocket, but you can also own the pipes. So like cut cable out of that too. It's like a direct creator to fan relationship, but it's still flowing through pipes that are owned by YouTube and Meta. And so like, I think we're at a very interesting time where it's like some of this, again, is old and some of it's new. Like Patreon tried to do some of this. I don't think they got the network effects right. And to your point, Jess, like the idea of what Zora does offer is, I don't think it's the case that like people are going to make a lot of money if they sell their own creator coin against fans that are coming in, because that's a surefire way for this to end poorly. But we had Jesse Pollock on the show, and he was talking about what if creators could start to unlock the value by like borrowing against their creator coin. And I was like, I'm not sure how many people outside of the crypto world might even think that way. Certainly degens in crypto do.
Leverage me up, baby. Let's go.
Degens in crypto think that way. But it is, again, I think if you look at the value of attention in different ways, you can start to build things differently. And at the core of it, I just think that aligning interests in a new way is going to be more successful than kind of this PvP kind of meme coin shenaniganery that we've seen before, if shenaniganery is a word. But that's what we've seen work. I think, again, I don't want to like pump my own thing here, but the idea of an NFT being up 3x since we started in 22 does come from this idea of like real rational ownership and being able to pay a dividend back to NFT holders from a business that makes money.
Novel concept.
I'm interested in how you're thinking about, I guess, distribution channels today. Sounds like you lean pretty heavily into YouTube. We're kind of laser focused on the Twitter game. So I guess just like, what do you think about the distribution landscape? Where are you putting most of your attention, and how do you think about growth in the context of Coinage?
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing about kind of, again, crypto loves decentralized solutions. I think that's true for the most part in terms of what's been built thus far. But there is one problem is like, people go and people like the Netflixes of the world to discover things. And again, going back to Patreon, it's like kind of another thing. It's like if people aren't going all to one site, then distribution kind of falls off. And so for us, like, yes, we also similarly lean into X and we lean into YouTube and publishing things through our site, coinage.media. But we also have partnered with The Street, which is the third largest financial news outlet, and clip and post there, and are constantly working on other distribution partnerships, whether it may be potentially, who knows, a Netflix distribution partnership or a Yahoo where I used to work or something else. But I think the main key here is, where does that value go? Normally, it'd be like a CoinDesk of the world who would capture that value. And who owns CoinDesk? I don't know. Bullish. But then on our side, it's like, who owns Coinage? And it's like a bunch of random people around the world who have minted NFTs. And I think there's a key distinction there. But you are right. It's distribution at the end of the day that still moves the needle in terms of where eyeballs are if you're going to be monetizing those. And so it's something we're still constrained by. I think anyone in media is constrained by it. You guys know that too. It's like, that's the game. And that's the dream, is larger and larger distribution partnerships over time. But luckily, I think we've been able to add those as we've grown.
I mean, it is a game that has, it always evolves, but there are pretty clear levers, and it is crazy how impactful a little bit of incentive can be pointed in the right direction. I mean, I think crypto Twitter is basically, an entire paid shill fest at some level here, and you see that very in your face now with all the badges, right? But underlying that is, the bag bias that people might have, and it's maybe not as a direct incentive, but we've stepped a little bit into this in a very limited way with this ability for people to kind of check in, hang out with us live. So it rewards people who are here with us live, hanging out with us over on zora.co/11am here on X. and then also adding additional incentives for people to help share content. Like that, it is crazy how much of an impact on the algorithm and the distribution of content that can happen when you just get a couple broad interactions on a post, right? And so like very limited experiments in that. I think we've always sort of had this idea of momentum management in a certain way, where you don't want, like, the last thing that I want here is for this to be something that all of a sudden there's 100,000 people that follow us on X and we get 5,000 people that see each post. It just seems incredibly cringe to me, and short every single project that goes out and does those pages. Like, it's just like, like, what are we talking about here? We love this sort of verified followers metrics. I think, Josh here has got probably one of the best ratios going as far as his, 4,000 followers, but like the 98%, I don't know what it is, but some absurd number of people are the actual real people who watch and actually engage with this stuff. And so I think it's very interesting to see how we can layer on these incentives in a way that are also not organic, just like real in a certain way. Because like, I don't care if there's 4 billion bots that watch this stuff, frankly. Like, it's not, I mean, maybe those bots will go buy stuff eventually though.
Well, I think that's the way that I think about it too, because it's like, okay, like crypto is all about incentives, right? And that's why I got into space. Is like Bitcoin became a better incentive model for like actually doing money online. And you can do the same thing for attention online. And it's like everything you just hit on is why I think co-ops are cool. And it's like not huge. It's not going to like blow out everything when you add a little dividend check at the end of the year, but it's enough on the margin, I think, to get people interested. Like, I was chatting with an REI member the other day. It's like, you can buy the same camping goods stuff on Amazon, but if you can buy it for the same price on REI, like, his behavior changed in that it became the first spot he went. It's like everything that he ever wanted to buy, he would check REI first. And that's a major change when it comes to capturing attention. If you're all of a sudden like not just a passive watcher of content, but you actually co-own it and can earn a dividend, you're more likely to tell a friend about it. You're more likely to share, rather than maybe, even adding on an incentive and be like, hey, share this and you get like this token. Like, that almost goes too hard, like on the nose sometimes. And I see like some things in crypto that can kind of get those mechanics to where it feels more like homework than anything. And so we try to keep things super simple and just be like, hey man, if you like it, go ahead, but we're not going to track this because A, we don't have the money to do it, and B, who knows what's going to happen. But I think that's like an interesting concept around like incentives and stuff. And I think you're absolutely right. We don't want to do that either, where we're stuck with a bunch of bots. It's all about finding your audience.
I mean, it is, banker distribute tokens to the top 100 people from this thread is kind of an incredible growth.
I think I'm going to steal that hack, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think that's pretty sick. I think that's cool.
All right, Zach, we got to leave it there, man. Dope chatting with you again. It is a throwback to our DAO days. I think the world is shifting quite a bit, but as Aaron was saying earlier, probably best not to rule anything out. The world seems to have a way of coming back around to interesting ideas in new ways. So congrats on all the success. Look forward to being on your show at some point. So
yes,
we can talk
for
to your
sure.
audience.
And thank you for having me on, and congrats to you guys too. I think this is sick, and hope that we can continue working together on these things. And congrats, and we'll see you on the charts up there. Shout out other streamers on Zora.
Coming for it, baby. I would say Zora.co/best dish ever. I think D mentioned it on stream yesterday, trading at just over 200K market cap. And you guys got some heavy hitters in here doing stuff. So maybe that's the alpha coming out of the trustless media world here. That's $best dish ever on Zora. Not even at 100 holders yet. Feels very early.
Yeah. I mean, they're bigger creators than I am. They got like 500,000 followers on TikTok and Instagram. So like, as much as I love Coinage, and certainly we're going to continue to grow here and have the ownership model in place, best dish ever. Everyone loves food, so that one's a kind of a no-brainer. Is I can watch food videos.
Big Tam.
Big Tam.
All right, Zach. Have a good one, man. Best of luck.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it, y'all. Cheers.